When I was young, like my mom would say, be honest, be honest. So do you actually skip class? Yes. Then she beat me.
Yeah,
I was
then
like,
you get nowhere, lor.
honestly, not the best policy, right? But my mom always say, but it's good, alright? You don't lie to me, it's good. But I still get beaten, right?
Okay, welcome back to another episode of Wise and Shine. I'm your host Reggie, aka your chief financial coconut.
Eric, Mr. Positivity.
And Dawn, SG Budget Babe.
Nice. And today we're gonna tackle a very evergreen. Evergreen, yes. Next time, don't wear green.
Evergreen.
No, okay, it's fine. Okay, if we are using green screen, I'll tell you in
Okay.
advance, because honestly, not a lot of people wear green to studios. So I'm quite amazed when I see.
I have all colours. I have rainbow colours.
Okay. But that's a story for another day.
Hey, honesty.
Today, honesty. Yes,
being
yes.
honest.
So I'm being very honest here. Yes, but today the main discussion, is about honesty, right? And I want to talk about this thing of honesty honestly gets you nowhere. Okay, as a challenge to honesty is the best policy, because that's like a childhood
So boring.
myth, right? Yeah, so boring. Honesty is the best policy. But it's everywhere, right? Like you're in school, at home, 你要跟我 honest, blah 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 blah.
Yep.
Even with your spouse or your partner, it's always about, you must be honest with me, or your business partner. There's this honesty. People hold honesty to a high level, as a moral standards or from a operational standards, because easy man, you tell me everything, now I know what to do, right? It's clear, But I come from a different view, and that's why today I want to ask you guys, right, the question of honesty. Is it a situation where honesty really gets you nowhere?
This is one of
Silence,
the rare
because it's
moments
like-
where we have somewhat silence.
Yeah, because you need to think and that kind of questions everything that I know.
Is honesty honestly
Getting you nowhere.
getting you nowhere? No lah. I mean, if you put it that way, obviously the answer is no. It does get you somewhere. It's just whether it gets you somewhere good or bad. Right, it does get you somewhere.
Okay. We throw that caveat out, right? In other words,
fine.
we only want to get to the good places, right?
There are a few contexts, right? So
Yes.
maybe I can speak on relationships.
Yes,
Um,
please.
So, story, right? So there was one time I wanted to share with my mom something that I've been keeping to myself for a while, right? But I revealed it to my sister first, because me and my sis were very close. And you know what my sis said to me? She said, just because you're ready to share doesn't mean that mom is ready to hear. And that was a wake-up call for me, because we always thought that I need to be 100% transparent, 100% honest about everything. But I forgot that to consider the fact that it's the recipient ready to listen to everything. Because there's a saying, truth hurts, even though it sets you free. So ever since then, at least in the world of relationships, I would always ask myself this, that, okay, I want to tell this person something. I'm trying to be honest. I want to give him some feedback, right? But is that person in the best position, best place right now to listen to this honest truth? Will this honest truth actually help the person improve, or the honest truth will make the person stonewall me and break the relationship down? So I use that as my guide.
How were you feeling when you couldn't be honest? Were you judging yourself?
Yes, because I always thought that the rule of all relationship is to be 100% honest, because as you said, we have always been taught that honesty is the best policy.
Yeah. We hold it as a pedestal.
And I
in
remember when I was
society,
young, like my mom would say, be honest, be honest. So do you actually skip class? Yes. Then she beat me.
Yeah,
I was
then
like,
you get nowhere, lor.
honestly, not the best policy, right? But my mom always say, but it's good, alright? You don't lie to me, it's good. But I still get beaten, right? But I think it's an ingrained thing.
But I like how you added that color. Honesty is the best policy in your family's context. But there's a time and place to be honest.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, there's a time and place to share.
So you are 100% honest, but you have to review that honesty at opportune times.
And also, what's the intent? I'll give you another context. This one tricky, okay? Adultery. So I've don't ask me why I read that, but there was a period I was reading a lot about such topics, like, is it wrong?
I controlling myself not to ask.
Wrong to cheat, and all kind of thing. And the thing is that sometimes, right, when a person
caveats on
cheats,
monogamy, by the way.
Anyway. Polygamy, monogamy and all.
Yeah.
So, but let's talk about the standard relationship. That the minute you cheat, right, there is actually a part of you that feel guilty. and that you want to be honest. But actually, if you dig down inside, the reason why you want to be honest is because you want to relieve yourself of that guilt.
Yeah.
You want to hope that the person forgive you, right? So that's why I felt that then honesty is not the best policy, because you are just doing it because you want to make yourself feel better. So I think intention is important, and understanding whether the recipient is open and ready to listen. And is it constructive? Is your honesty constructive?
And I think as we grow, as a child, it's easy to preach and teach that because we are the ones who decide what to do with that honest information, right? But I think as we go through stage of life and we become wiser, especially after listening to this podcast.
I absolutely agree.
From episode one, we start plugging
Yeah,
this
must
line.
start every single
Very
time.
good, affirming,
Yeah.
yes.
So anyway, back to the context.
Yes.
So as you're a child, you just have that simple honesty is the best policy. But as you grow older, you then learn the next level, which is there is a time and place to be honest. And then the third level eventually is, but it may not always work to be honest because there are consequences. And I think if we look at these three levels, then that would kind of answer your question.
Yeah.
Honesty, is it honestly the best policy?
Yeah.
Because if the consequence is all borne by you,
Yes.
and the consequence in this case, like in adultery, is
Yeah.
the breaking down of your relationship. Or worse, your wife then takes your kids and you're the one, and then sues you for it, you have to pay all the, monthly fees and all, and you're the one left worse off, then you may think like, no, it's not good to be honest, and you just leave it there.
Kevin, maybe also the wife can also adultery, right? It can go both ways. Just this says everything is equal, right? Right. But of course, in the eyes of the law, it's still
Because
a different
honesty implies there's a recipient, right? I need to be honest to someone. So I think ultimately the question is the person ready to take the truth? Like, as a boss, okay, now let's talk about work, right? Sometimes I cannot be honest with my employees. Like maybe we have a cash flow issue right now.
Yeah.
Maybe we just lost a major deal.
So have not.
Of course, not now, but as an entrepreneur the last 14 years, there were moments where we can't make paycheck. We have to use our credit card or we have to hold back our own salary to pay. But do we tell our employees? No, because they can't take that. Because as an entrepreneur, we can take instability, but as an employee, they can't.
And the consequence of doing that is that they might then leave or look for
That
better
makes it even
opportunities.
worse. They jump ship or they can't focus on their work, which is what I at least need them to do. So that then if I look at it at context, then yes, then honesty doesn't always
you
get
know
us.
it.
And then if you want to
Right.
continue being an honest boss, you would deliver that truth like 1 year later when the tide has already passed.
Yeah, fair.
Then that's where the time and place.
Yeah, and I want to double down on what Dawn was talking about, like the family structure and all that, right? Because I actually went for therapy for a period of time, and one of the things that my therapist shared with me, right, is that lying is a skill set that all kids need to learn to develop.
I thought they don't need to learn. They automatically
No,
learn
as in,
one.
you may it's like you may know does not mean you're good at it, right? So
Oh.
so all kids learn to lie, and they need to learn to be good at that
Why?
over time
Why
because
did-
it's a protection mechanism.
Okay.
Right? So if every time you're honest, you cannot piak, right? You're not incentivized to be honest anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very interesting thing but a lot of parents do that because when you're honest, you tell them what happened,
You still get
they
punished.
punish you. But they punish you not for your honesty, they punish you for whatever
The
shit
deed.
that they disagree.
But how my mom does it is that she give you a bigger punishment. So it's like, Reggie, you
Uh.
tell me the truth. If you tell me the truth, I cane you one time. If you don't tell me the truth and I find out, I'll double cane you.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I think all mom follow a certain script.
I think I don't know where moms learn this from.
Yeah, but that's,
anyway,
you're right. Huh?
So,
It's actually negative reinforcement.
yeah,
right?
so it's negative reinforcement. So from what the psychologist told me, right, is that actually lying is a skill set that everybody needs to learn, and kids learn it very quickly to protect themselves. Because in the kids' world, it's a bit more simplistic in the sense that whether does it hurt, does it not hurt, they have a relatively simpler incentive structure, like less flux in their life, in work, there's all sorts of things happening, there's work, there's home, all that, right? So within the smaller parameter of the kid's life, learning to lie is a very important skill set. And what I've learned over time is that when someone lies to you, right, they may not have a negative intention on you, they're not trying to hurt you, they're just trying to protect themselves. They may not be trying to hurt you. I'm not saying no, there are, okay? But they may just be trying to protect themselves. So a lot of times when you're a manager, you're a parent, you're a senior in the organization, and you ask, and the people never tell you like the fuller story, they're not being honest, right? And then you judge them for that. In actuality, is maybe why don't you ask yourself, why aren't you making them feel safe enough to tell you what exactly went on?
Yes, well said.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was like, Oh my God, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Right. So when you see it from that view, then you realize the power dynamics that's involved. Right. It's a very big part of this thing. Right. If you as the senior, okay, you're the teacher, you're the manager, you're the boss, you're the parent, you can make the other party feel safe enough to tell you what actually went on. That is so powerful.
Yeah.
And by extension, then you gotta ask yourself, like, what is your role in this relationship? If your role in this relationship is the leader, right, and the bigger one, then as much as you desire honesty from the ground, because if you don't have honest information, you don't have the accurate information, you cannot.
Make accurate predictions. and
Yes,
decisions.
yes, yeah. So it impedes your work. Yes, it does. But if you're not able to then
Create that safe space.
exactly, it is also you impeding your own work. It is your inability also.
So instead of faulting people for not being honest, reflect on yourself and see how can I make this a safer space for my people to be honest with me.
Yeah, and that would change the tide.
So I guess if we look at it from a recipient point of view, is we need to shield ourselves because sometimes the truth really does hurt. Right? A simple thing as, am I getting fat? Right? We ask that question.
No.
And then
You just keep wearing green only.
No, I'm not asking for myself. But this whole age-old thing where the girl asks the guy, like, am I getting fat?
Yeah, my husband always says no.
And so I always invite the person who asked that question that if you dare to ask that question, then you must dare to be able to accept the answer. Because it's a two-way street. It's
But most
communication.
people cannot.
Yeah, then don't ask that question.
No, but
No, but if you want to ask.
no,
Then what they want is not honesty. What they want is assurance.
Yeah.
Then don't ask the question. Instead, it's just tell the person, can you please assure me?
You will still love me if I'm
there's,
fat.
there's a story. This girl was looking in front of the mirror and said, like, am I fat? Then the guy was saying, okay, you're okay. Then the girl asked, can you like at least compliment me? Don't always say I'm fat. Then because the girl was looking in front of the mirror and say, oh my God, I think I'm putting on weight. Then the girl came to her boyfriend and said, so can you say something nice to me to make me feel better? He said, you have good eyesight. So you see, the guy was being honest, right? But the recipient, the question is then the recipient, is she ready to receive the truth? If not, don't ask.
I worked the whole week.
Okay, well.
Oh, you got a great eyesight. No, but I will push you on
Yes,
that because at the core, if we ask ourselves what is the goal of that question, then that is also a better way to kind of look at it, right? If the goal of the question is like, am I fat, is actually, that they're not seeking the truth, they're seeking affirmation, right? Then why don't you give the affirmation?
So you must be smart to know what's
Yeah. So in that sense, you are being a little bit smarter with sensing what is the real question behind this question.
And in this story, the girl is not being honest with herself. Because she doesn't want the truth, she wants assurance, but she's expecting honesty from the guy,
yeah.
which will not give her the assurance.
It's this
that
whole
she
thing
gets.
I saw on Instagram early this year of Valentine's Day. It was so funny. Like, I want my boyfriend to give me flowers, but I hate it that if he has to ask me whether I want flowers, then my answer is no, I don't want flowers. But I want him to know that I want flowers without him having to ask me I want flowers.
So
No
it's not
wonder.
about the flowers, it's about wanting to feel like your partner knows you.
Yeah.
So
Or wanting to not lose out on Valentine's Day, everyone shows off their flowers.
maybe, right?
So it boils back to communication again.
So that is the most externalized gesture. When I don't ask you for flower, you give me flower. Actually, it's not about the flower itself.
Yeah.
It is about recognizing that you actually know me decently, and then you know what I'm feeling inside, right? And finding that comfort in that. Right? But that's a very different discussion.
I also want to add one more layer. So aside
Sure.
from like being honest and being the right, delivering at the right place and time and recognizing consequence, I think there's another layer which is you may not or have to be honest with everyone. I think it's impossible, as much as we are held to that moral benchmark of honesty is the best policy. It's not possible for any single being to be 100% honest with 100% of people that he knows.
50% of the people will leave. so
recognizing-
now the new 100% he can be honest.
So like recognizing like in your circle of, let's say, 100 people in your life, who do you really need to be honest with, because the consequence of not being honest will hit you really badly. So like your close friends, your family, your loved ones, your spouse. But then there are 80% of people out there that you don't really have to be honest with. And sometimes you can either like shrug it off, or just walk away because there's no need for them to know the truth.
For me, there's only one person you need to be honest with.
Yourself.
Wow.
So you only need to be honest with yourself, because when you are as honest with yourself, how you're feeling, what you want, what state are you in, this gives you clarity, and then and then with this clarity, you can go about, building the relationship that you need, or finding the kind of support that you have, or pursuing the goals that you want. And in that process, you will share more and more with the people that you trust. Right, so that is like the eventuality, right?
So honesty is the best policy with yourself.
Yourself.
Then you go to the next layer of like the people around you. Who is the next? Maybe like in your family or your spouse. You just need to be like 90% honest, not 10%.
Okay,
It's like, for example, you may not say, maybe you married someone with a really bad temper, but you are not going to be honest and say like, do you know your temper is like the worst out of every single person I know? So that's like the 10% of truth that you hide from that person, because saying that would not help your relationship. Instead, you would give more practical advice on how to make that person start to realize that the temper is not very good.
So that is the strategy, right? That's a strategy to go about solving that problem, because you recognize that, when you tell the person the temper very bad, well, the reaction is going to be like, woohoo!
Yeah, very
see,
defensive
I told
already.
you, right?
Yeah.
So and to me, that is being very shrewd and very smart, to play these dynamics of
And
things.
it makes it so simple, right? Because we can't control people's response anyway. We can't control how people receive our messages, but we can control how we see ourselves. That's why it's so clear that as long as you're honest with yourself, that's 100%, you don't have to argue with that.
Yeah.
But then after that, you can create a trust circle, right? And in that trust circle, you set the rules. That to you guys in my trust circle, you guys can be 100% honest with me, or you can be 100% honest with me, but please only be honest in a very kind way, or in when I'm ready to listen.
90%.
So you can set those rules, right?
Yeah, I agree. That is 90%. Because
okay,
I
so
never 100%
90%,
honest
yeah,
with
not
my
100%,
emotions.
90%.
So I think
Yeah.
if we set those rules, then it solves a lot of problems. It still boils back down to
Yeah.
communication.
And then with strangers, it's like, 10% or
Yeah,
20%.
Yeah, because
like,
there's no need.
someone asks, hey, Eric, you very yen dao. Where you stay? I want to stalk you. Are you going to tell that person?
Yeah.
Of course not. Yeah.
It's like how people ask you, like, how's your day? Oh, good lah, pretty good. Have a good day. Bye.
And you know what?
Well, it's like, if I tell you, well, my day very bad, are you really gonna engage me? And if you engage me, great, good. In
I'm
fact-
sorry. Bye.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if the person comes back to you, it's like, really then suddenly what do I say?
Right. Actually, if you look for another point of view, is you're honest with yourself, and that with you have a trust circle that you want to be honest with a few caveat and rules, and they'll be honest
90%.
with you. That 90% or 80%, right? Then you also then tell yourself that actually everybody else don't have to be honest with me.
Actually,
they don't
everyone
need to.
else don't
Don't
always,
expect
yeah.
to, right?
But sometimes we have the expectation that people are going to tell me things that is true, and then that's why we get misunderstood.
That's why we are doing this topic. So because I find that it's an ongoing problem that a lot of people face, right? They have this reality of the world that, because of this, honesty is the best policy.
Because it's very
kind of
black and
thing.
white.
Yeah, it's very black and white.
But the
So
world doesn't work that way.
Yeah, but the world doesn't work that way. And then if you wake up from that reality, then everything becomes a little bit
Yeah, it's a bit grey, and that it's okay. You don't have to be honest with me, and I also don't take your feedback too seriously.
But some people's feedback you must take seriously. That's where the nuance
The
comes
trust
in,
circle
right?
lor.
Pretty much, yeah. So I want to push you guys to ask you, like, is there a scenario? I mean, you guys share a lot of different big and small things, right? But is there a concrete scenario where you were not honest and it got you further?
Not honest and got me.
Can be in career, can be business, can be at home, can be with your kids.
Oh, I have.
Yes.
Very minor, but I think it really helped. I used to wear a ring on my ring finger. There was a real ring, by the way. My boyfriend, now husband, gave it to me. So I told him this, like, I feel like everyone at work is judging me for being young because I look young, right? But I need people to respect and listen to me and not have age as the biasness at which they're listening to me. So I said, maybe what I can do is to make it seem like I look young, but I'm actually not that young. But I'll never tell you my age, so you would never know. So my boyfriend, now husband, then bought me a ring, and I deliberately wore it on my ring finger. So when people met me, and they would think that I'm married, and then it comes with that wiseness, but in fact, that was not real. It was a lie. But I never really lied because I never said what my age was anyway. And I never told you that, yes, I'm married. I just let you continue to live in that delusion because doing so would then get them to listen to me and me to seal the deal or whatever the agreement or the negotiation and drive it to the direction that I needed it to go. Yeah, and that got me very far.
Yeah.
I felt it helped tremendously in the early beginnings of my career. Okay, what about
Okay.
Eric?
Yes.
Eric, do you have a
Okay.
time when being honest got you further? No,
Being
when being
dishonest got you further. Hey, I hope you're enjoying Wise and Shine so far. I'm your host Reggie, aka your chief financial coconut, and for us to continue to do this show so that you become a tad bit wiser every week, you gotta like, share, subscribe, help us beat the algorithm. But even more importantly, if you can, comment in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts and also some questions that you would love us to answer. Yep, now back to the show.
I think, well, my parents are not gonna listen to this, so I will say that it's a lot of.
I
a
will
lot
send
of my,
to your parents.
Okay. Wow, you're gonna create problems.
I send your sister to send to the parents.
I think with my parents, because I feel that they are very simple-minded people. I remember during my entrepreneurship journey, I was doing so badly, and I could not be honest with them. I could not tell them that we owe the banks money. I cannot tell them that I'm actually feeling super inadequate and that I lost a lot of deals. I can't tell them that.
Because if you did that, they would
'Cause
have
I'll
stopped
break
you
their
from
world.
being an
Yeah.
entrepreneur as well.
And they are the kind of people that are very protective of me, right? But so they will try to help, but they can't. They have no capacity to help, and that will break them too.
Actually, it's not very boring because
Huh.
a lot of entrepreneurs have the same story.
Yeah,
Let's
but
say
it's-
about something
But it's
that,
really true.
that is not for your parents, like being dishonest with a boss, a client, or something that got you further. So mine
see,
was I was
uh,
dishonest with some clients / prospects, but it gave me the benefit of
Say. I want to
corporate
know.
success.
Later then, after that you can tell me more.
Should tell us over lunch.
yeah, over lunch, yes.
No, because I'm the kind of person that really subscribe to honesty and best policy. Remember, I told you that I wanted to just tell my mom stuff. I want to tell it, but it doesn't serve me. A lot of times when I tell my business partner things, it at the wrong time, it doesn't serve me.
Have you been dishonest with a business partner or a client, and that got you further?
No, I think my biggest problem, if you ask my business partner, is that I'm too transparent. That in business, sometimes too transparent. So so I give you an example. It'll be something like, this is my price law, but we gave this customer a discount.
Oh
Then,
my goodness!
I'm really honest, ma, because I give a discount, and that is bad because, or at least bad in the business world, right? Because you give discount and this.
I also want.
Yeah, I also want. So I don't think from that perspective, honesty is the best policy. But here's how I argue it. I always feel that when you're honest with your clients, relationship is one thing, okay? But with clients, I always feel that I want to be 100% honest. Whether they can take the truth is their issue, but I want to be 100% honest because I want to play the long game. Because I feel that in business, integrity is very, very important.
Yeah.
Especially when money is involved. So I rather lose at the short term, but win in the long term.
Okay lah, but I'm trying to make myself look like the good guy here.
Yeah.
This one, your honesty had direct implications on them. Mine no lah. Whether or not I'm married or not doesn't matter. It's just a
yours is
dishonest
perception.
Yeah, I'm just removing your perception. There's no actual cost to you.
Correct.
No, but the very fundamental that you are trying to caveat that, right? It shows that internally you do hold honesty on a moral
as a
high
virtue.
ground and as a virtue.
Everyone does, right?
Yeah.
It's in your silver moral education. You need to take the correct answer to get your score.
Thing is, I don't.
No,
Thing is, I don't.
I think it's over time you learn that it's not always the best policy.
So the thing is, I don't put honesty on the moral high ground. Like it's not.
Is that honestly your best
it's-
answer?
No, it's not. Yeah. So honesty is not a virtue in my dictionary. It is a reality of a safe environment. Right? That means we trust each other, we feel safe. You will tell me as much information as you feel comfortable with. Right? And because I don't judge the person, I don't have right or wrong does not exist in my worldview because everything is in a moral flux, right? So I will take your information and try to contextualize in how you live your life, how you perceive on things. So over time, people find it very safe to tell me how they really feel. But I do not hold it as a moral high ground such that I will penalize you if you don't. You're not honest with me, or like to me it's like, if you're honest, that is a sign that you trust. You're honest, that is a sign that we are in a good space, right? And
I think there's bandwidth to play with in personal relationships, right? But I don't think there's a bandwidth to play in a business relationship. I feel that in business relationship, people, if you ask anybody, honesty, integrity, it's at the highest.
Unless you are doing it to remove perception barrier. I'm still trying to justify that I'm the good guy. But it makes
really
me
moved
seem
on
like
with it.
I had no integrity.
No. But I honestly, this is my honest feedback on this thing is I don't think anybody in business is truly honest. they're all trying to put up a position. They're all trying to play up certain perspectives, covering up everybody is trying to be strategic, right? So
True.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how they think. But if you look at how things have been going, there's so much whistleblowing going on. There's so much employees reporting. I think nowadays it really pays to be honest because you can't bury skeletons in the closet.
But you have to create that safe space and time it well.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, think about it. A lot of, especially, maybe less of entrepreneurs, content creators, people always put you on a pedestal, right? And people see you as a role model. But if really you do have skeletons in the closet, I really encourage you to be honest.
Thank you. I was actually going to bring this question up, right?
Bring it up before someone catch you, right?
Yeah, but this is a nice link because, we're talking about the differences. So 100% honest with yourself, 80 to 90% with your trust circle.
I love how it became 80. It was 90.
No, after we set the caveat.
So after we say, Dawn was like, actually 80 可以了啦.
80 to 81 low.
Yeah.
Right.
What about social media? So with almost absolute strangers, where would the kind of percentage sensing be?
We are in an era right now of authenticity.
Yeah.
So when
And you
authenticity
can't hide. You don't want to hide your
honesty,
skeletons.
yeah.
But you can't be completely honest like where you live or where
back
you work.
then, and I'll say 5-7 years ago, aesthetics is held above. But now we're moving into authenticity. So the culture and the norm, societal norm of authenticity, along with it is the value of integrity and honesty. So yes, it comes
But for
together.
social media, how many
honest are you
percent?
really? Hey bro, your social media, very staged lah. It's like,
Honest opinion.
I was like, whoa, I was like,
wait, what?
Eric, 太多了, right? You don't
he's
talk like that day to
referring to
day, right?
your
Like, it's like-
videos.
But that's exactly how. Yeah, I mean, you guys seen me, right? That's why you always make fun of the positivity. I just can't help it.
Yeah. I was like,
I think
this
that.
is too much. This is too much.
But I think that's important. That I rather people think it's too much and realize that this is really who he is, than to later realize that actually that's not who you are.
But how many percent? So if we kind of get a sense, because like I work well with numbers, right? And I
Yeah.
think like for everyone out there, especially now with social media being so prevalent, it's useful to kind of know where should we draw the line. So some things are very subjective.
Yep.
But we get a rough sense of percentages. I'm sure you wouldn't be like, hey, how much you earn?
Yeah, okay. So I would say that I would review information that will not compromise my safety. So like I won't share things like where I stay.
That's a good definition.
That's one. Then number two is I will not review any information about wealth because I don't want to be scammed and I don't see how
The
that
point of
information
comparison
will make
anyway.
me a better coach. Right? It's not part of my brand.
And you
But-
wouldn't say things also that would jeopardize the safety of your loved ones. So that's another one to
Exactly.
add on.
However, authenticity is extremely important for me. It's part of my brand. And why do I say that? Is because I ask my followers, like, what initially make you follow me? And they say it's authenticity. So I built my followers on the ground of authenticity, not aesthetics. So I had to honor that because the minute I lose that, I lose everything. So it also depends on how you build your fame. How you
I
build
love
your
how you
following.
define that though, because I was also trying to think to myself, what percentage of honesty am I at with my followers? But I'm like, it's hard. But when you
sometimes
throw
yeah.
in that definition, it
It
makes
becomes
sense because
easy.
everything else is honest
Yeah.
except for these 3 parameters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is that you have to be honest, especially with your knowledge, because people follow you because of your knowledge. So you can be dishonest about you going for 整容叫什么 English cosmetic surgery.
Cosmetic
Let's say
surgery, yes.
it will still not impact. Questionable. But the thing is that it will not impact me as much as you being honest with your sources, your data, your research, because that's what people follow you for. People did not follow you for other things.
So if you're on social media, recognizing why people, if you're
Yeah.
building a social media presence, recognizing why people follow
Yeah.
you and being honest to that.
Correct.
But then if your social media is just for your friends and family,
Then it goes back down to the trust circle and all that. And can I add one thing that is so relevant to this conversation? So there was a season of my life that I hang out with a lot of church people. Because I
Sorry.
Oh wow. The reaction.
Yeah, that
Very
reaction,
sensitive.
And I mean I love them because they're very positive and they're very encouraging. So I hang out with them, right? But as I evolved, I would not say I'm a Christian, even though I might offend some people. I would say I'm becoming more and more spiritual. But there was a period of my life where because I keep showing like me going church, me going cell group, I keep getting comments like, "Oh, Eric's such a good boy. Eric is so God fearing," and I got worried because all these are labels that's not accurate. And I have to stop putting out those pictures because it creates a wrong perception.
And you got worried because you were being 100% honest with yourself that those labels are not a
not
reflection
true.
of you.
Yeah, it's not true. Just because I show pictures of me singing songs about God doesn't make me God-fearing like a pastor. So I think it's very important as social media content creators, we also need to be careful that every single piece of content we put out is actually adding a label on us. And if the label is not accurate, you better be aware of it and remove it as soon as possible. If not, one day it will come biting at you.
Fair.
I want to share one mantra that I live by, which I use to guide what I post on social media. And it's really about the skeletons in the closet, where I feel it's easier to be honest than to lie. Because you need to remember your lie, and sometimes your lie gets questioned, so there's a lot of details woven in.
Wow.
It becomes very difficult to remember and be a consistent liar versus just being an honest person. But the caveats that you threw in, the 3 factors, like, being honest, are not
Safety, your children.
your safety, your loved one's safety, and that's where it's a grey area.
Right, you don't have to.
And between honesty and lying, there's ambiguity right in the middle.
There is. It's
In a sense that
half-truths.
you don't need to just say, okay, sorry, this one I'm not comfortable to share.
That's not lying.
That's
That's just
done,
not.
right? Yeah,
It's withholding truth, but that doesn't mean lying. Right?
Yeah. So-
Or telling half truths. Like, I stay in the north. Half truth. Right? I didn't tell you exactly where I stay. Right?
Okay.
Right.
I was thinking, is it north? Yeah, it's north.
You just revealed it to everybody. You just compromised your
It's south, Harbourfront,
safety.
south. But yes.
Yeah.
So,
However, I think that society has some implicit expectations on a certain professions to be 100% honest.
Yeah, like how we don't expect all lawyers to be 100% honest.
you mean the recent article that the D'Souza one, is it?
Not judging.
Not
I'm
judging.
just saying the
not judging.
profession, or like accountants.
Yeah.
Enron frauds.
But I always got a problem. I'm amazed how the Big Four never get spilled into all these problems, right? It's like FTX, all
Because,
these
like
things.
you said, they know how to protect.
Yes, but they're not honest. So, but if you follow me on socials, I am very consistent. I will not say I'm honest. Okay, I'm very consistent. That means if this is my worldview, this is my worldview. Okay, if I shift, I will let you know I shifted, and you can observe also anyway. I'm not afraid to shift, and but you shouldn't hold me to an honesty standard.
But you know why that works? Because your readers are following you for all these multiple worldviews, because that makes your podcast and episodes interesting.
Yeah.
Unlike other people that tend to stick to only one worldview, and that is their version of the truth, you are like, there's no truth. The truth is always in flux.
Yes.
And that's why people follow
who is the
you.
predominant and blah blah blah, and then it will affect.
Yeah, and
all
you're
these.
very aligned to that, and that is your truth.
Yeah,
That's why I say is whose truth are you standing by,
So,
right?
so I'm aligned, I'm consistent. You can say I'm truthful, but I'm not honest by any measure of that word. In how people want to, because words get tainted, right? Two decades later, when we look back at these videos, 2 decades, you will realize that this word has a different loading altogether as it moves along. This is a language discussion another time, right? But don't hold me with like honesty as a label. I don't try to be honest with you, because to me, it's a moral high ground. I just try to be consistent to tell you this is how I look at things and this is what it is. To you it can be like, oh, you're very honest, but to me, don't hold me by that standard.
Don't use that label.
Don't use that label on me. I
Yeah.
don't need to try hard to be part of that label, right? And I have consistently achieved breakthrough by not being held to that label. It got me to a lot of places, right? Like all my clients, they come in and they're like, oh yeah, this is actually quite difficult to do, blah blah blah, but actually to them it's very difficult to do, but to me this is very simple, right? Because I do it I do this day in, day out, right? Like I know how to do this inside out, right? But you don't know. So to you, this is a very difficult task, right? And then that's the only way I can kind of charge a better price. Right? So, 这个很简单, very easy. Then it's very hard, to actually negotiate for better pricing. Because at the end, I need to substantiate the value, and I also need to let them feel comfortable.
So to conclude, is honestly the best policy. I think
It's
what
quite
I
clear,
really
no.
like, I like the 3 layers that we came out with. The first one being, yes, it is when it's 100% with yourself. So don't feel like a bad person if you're not honest with someone else, because you only need to be 100% honest with yourself. Then when it comes to your trust circle, your direct family or loved ones, 80 to 90%, not 90 anymore. 80 to 90.
At least never drop to 70. So
And
okay,
then
you held it
outside
up.
of that, draw parameters. It's kind of hard. We couldn't come to agreement on what percentage for everyone else outside of that circle. But I think it's more of like having those parameters guide you. So in that parameters, you don't have to be honest. But everything outside of that, yes, be honest, because things can come back to bite you. What was your biggest takeaway?
I love the way you summarize. So that would have been my biggest takeaway. I mean, if I were to add another point, it would be that honesty is a two-way street, right? That number one is, have you created a safe space for people to be honest with you? That's one. Number two, ask yourself, can you take the truth? Because you can't take the truth, then maybe you don't want people to be honest with you.
Oh, I love
Number
that.
three, communicate what conditions need to be in place for a person to be honest with you. Like, so for example, it could be, tell me something positive first, and then after that, sandwich it with something that's not so good, because that's the way I can take the truth, right? So Peter
and that's a
Madison
lot
with
of
a bit of
clarity.
candy. Yeah.
That's a lot of
So I
clarity.
feel that don't be awkward. If you communicate, then people will feel more open to being honest with you. And especially if you're a boss, your people really do need to be honest with you, because they're on the ground, you're not. And if you train your guys not to be honest with you, you would be the emperor in the tall ivory tower, and you can't do shit.
With real consequences.
Yeah.
With real
I have
consequences.
a quick tip for bosses on that ground,
Please.
right? So
Sure.
you must learn to separate the tasks in your head, right? So a lot of bosses, when they think about this, when shit happens and you solve the shit, right? So you may have caused the shit, or your lack of clarity, or your lack of overseeing this thing have caused the shit to happen, and you solve the shit. In their head, it's by right, mama. You should have done it this way, right? Like, and that. But in my head is, the shit happens. That's one step. You solving the shit is step 2. So I will validate step 2. So great, you've done a great job solving it. I don't take it as a given that you've solved it. So this is me incentivizing them, and also me incentivizing them to tell me what's going on in the future. When
So
shit
that
happens,
we can focus on step
yes,
2.
yes. So when shit happens, they will kind of tell me, oh, yeah, actually this happened. Then I will
But
take it.
Ah.
Yeah, then they solve it. Okay, great. If they don't solve it, at least they also reflect. So I incentivize them to reflect as accurate information as possible. And if this shit keeps happening, then it's a systemic problem. We have to solve it. If it's a random error, it's random. How do you solve random
And you don't
errors?
penalize the person
Yeah,
for
you don't
it.
need to penalize the person. The very fact that they muscle up the courage to come and tell you, hey, you know this thing happened. It is a lot.
And that's how
to
you create your
incentivize.
safe space, because
Yes.
by bringing the attention and penalty outside of the error, but more on whether you fix the error, that is the
Yes,
consequence.
Yes. So it's a very different optics
Love
on
it.
those grounds. Yes.
What's your biggest takeaway?
Honestly, I don't really have a lot to take away.
Then I'm gonna steal that time, because I want to throw in one more takeaway.
okay.
I really like how you made that
Yep.
other 3-layer thing, which is being honest, but you have to find the right time and place,
Yep.
and then the right people as well.
Mm.
Yeah. So that would be I like the 3-3.
Great.
That's
Nice.
my 2 times 3 takeaway.
She's a
Great.
very good student today.
Yeah, great. But at the end, I think the verdict is quite clear, right? It's hard to be honest all the time. And there are actually many scenarios where if you're not honest, it gets you somewhere.
Further. So leave
gets you
that.
further.
Tell us in the comments below what was one instance that you were dishonest, and yet it got you further.
Yeah. And don't need to judge yourself. No need to substantiate like Dawn. try too hard to
I don't know if
substantiate.
they will actually share, because like it's not gonna be anonymous, but maybe y'all can set up a fake account and then share.
And, or sharing for a friend.
Yeah. Or just
Not honest.
DM us also.
DM us on socials. We'll see you on the
Alright.
next episode. Take care.
Okay, bye.